high-tech oils, available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts and all leading independent auto stores.
On today's show, we're going to Adelaide International Raceway for the Pro Series 1000, where ANDRA Top Alcohol and Pro Stock Motorcycle will be taking centre stage. And then we're off to Wakefield Park for the running of the B Main at the Valvoline Wakefield 300. This is Speed Week. There was something special in the air on the night of the 44th running of the Western Nationals. It was the night that Maddington Top Alcohol driver Craig Glasby rocketed into drag racing greatness. Right at the tree, he was near the centre line, but he gets the win. He's going to the final at a 5:41. Wow, 428 kilometres per hour. And that isn't just under the national record, it's under the world record. It was also something very special, not only for Glasby, but for the parochial Perth crowd. But when it came down to the crunch, he couldn't stop 16-time champion Gary Phillips, who started the year in winning style.
Hey, Perth Motorplex, absolutely fantastic. I told you they'd be happy. We're going to have a good time tonight.
Now they arrive into Adelaide International Raceway for round 2, and the best that Top Alcohol has to offer are out to stop that man and his Lucas oil machine.
Well, Top Alcohol racing is just the intensity of the speed and the way the car travels, the knowing that you don't know what way the car's going to go, if it's going to go straight, shake the tyres, do you pedal, do you get off, do you stay on it? It's just all in one package. I look at it myself and I see other cars racing and I think, I do that. The reason why I do it, I love it. I love the fact of the matter is that things are just crazy. It's a crazy trip down the quarter mile, and then when I get out of it, I'm just jumping all over the place.
Hey, Top Alcohol is awesome because you're on the start line, 7,000 RPM, you try and muscle and try and control that thing and get it to the finish line. That's the hardest thing and that's the most fun. I've always raced a funny car. We always run the dragster that Debbie raced. I've never driven a dragster. I'm too old to change now.
ANDRA drag racing in Adelaide. It is the VPW Pro Series 1000 here at Adelaide International Raceway. The sun is beaming down on this magnificent racetrack. And Top Alcohol heading to the staging lanes. We've got Rusty Gregory alongside me in commentary. We'll have Pro Stock Motorcycle on the bill as well. But Rusty, it's in Top Alcohol which we will begin our coverage.
Looking forward to this one. It's going to be huge. We saw some record-setting performances from Top Alcohol when we first saw them in Perth, so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do on this Adelaide 1,000-foot track.
Craig Glasby set the world on fire with those times, but it wasn't enough to get him the win ahead of Gary Phillips. And good to also see one guy that's back this weekend. He's not on that list, but he is with Matt Nolte. We're talking about Stephen Reid.
Yeah, thanks guys. Down in the paddock at Adelaide International Raceway. I'm still recovering from that first round at the Perth Motorplex earlier this year, and if you thought that was tough, things are going to get tougher. Steve Reid is back to join the championship, a man that's no stranger to Adelaide. What are we in for this weekend?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I mean, we raced here a couple of seasons ago and we managed to get a handle on the track pretty well, and hopefully everything goes well this weekend.
How do you apply yourself to this track? This is an all bitumen surface.
With being all bitumen, we just got to be gently. We sort of try to apply the power quite gently all the way down the racetrack. And we'll be very soft on our first run, and we'll just gradually try and feed it to each run as the conditions improve.
We didn't see you at Perth, and I'm sure you're across all the numbers. That was quite a staggering weekend.
Oh yeah, well that was really stout, wasn't it? I mean, those guys have really set the bar high. We're not going to see those numbers here this weekend, but we'll try to hopefully we'll be one of the fastest cars here.
So we're nearly set for the last few passes in qualifying. There is Gary Phillips himself. Interesting seeing TA76 on that car. I almost forgot what his ANDRA number was, to be honest, after so many years.
It's been a long time since we've had to see it on the side of a funny car.
Time to also check out some of the
qualifying highlights that have been taking place here across 2 sessions in Top Alcohol. The first session, I mean, pretty good conditions. If you take a look at the lanes, I mean, the left lane, according to the teams, offering up a little less grip than the right-hand lane, so it seems to be the sweet lane to be running in, and that is where Ambrosi is racing right now on a solo pass.
Yeah, fairly clean pass. So a little bit wandering around at the 1,000-foot marker there, but runs it through for a 5.16, just a tick over 338 kilometres an hour.
It's good to see him back racing and putting in this kind of effort. Local racer Gary Bush loving the new look of this car, and the All-Star Batteries livery in the other lane of Stephen Reid, the Queenslander. Oh, there goes the blower belt for Bush, and that means that he is qualified in 6th position at the moment with that 6.51 and a nice 4.85. Number 1 qualifier in the first session for Reid.
John Canuli and Debbie O'Rourke. Now it's an all funny car field here in this first qualifying session. Big drive job from John Canuli, but he did a great job. Got it to the finish line in a 4.90, only a tick behind Stephen Reid. Probably would have been the number 1 qualifier if it went straight.
Multiple pedals to the multiple champ, Gary Phillips. And if he's struggling to get down that left-hand lane, then you know where the problems lie. But Stephen Reid made it work for him with that 4.85. And parachute's not deploying properly. Thankfully for him, it wasn't a full pull because that could have been quite dangerous.
It was a pretty interesting first qualifying session. Steve Reid is your leader heading into the second session, I should say, and John Canuli coming in second. Gary Bush with a little bit of work to do, but the big news, Gary Phillips back there in the number 5 spot.
And no Francantini, I might add as well, who missed that first session. We didn't see him coming out. He is the only dragster that we have mentioned after Rusty said we had the full field of funny cars take the session number 1. We would see Frank out though for session number 2. Bit of an older style car, this one.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, since the mid-90s, running for the Duchenne Foundation this weekend. Rob Ambrosi goes through another good solid run. 5.18 though, I don't think it improves on his previous 5.16.
Gary Phillips now over in the right-hand lane and made this pass stick. Here comes the number 1 pass for the weekend so far, 4.72. And Bush in the other lane going 5.01 and improving his time. He's currently in 5th.
Number 1 with a bullet for Gary Phillips. That thing was on a string from start to finish. It barely moved around in the lane. Great run for the Lucas Oil team.
Debbie's impressed with that one. We also saw an improvement for Stephen Reid, a pair of Queenslanders. The doo-doo funny car, exciting all over the place. And Canuli laying down a very fast time, 2.34 miles per hour. But Stephen Reid had that better elapsed time, and it was good enough to move him up to number 2 in the qualifying order. Gary Phillips, like you said though, is the number 1 man to beat so far. We do have just 1 more session left, and we're 1 car short of a full field in Top Alcohol here for round 2. And so that leaves us with the final session. Robert Ambrosi left lane, backing up right now. And the doo-doo funny car, which has been extremely good to watch so far this weekend in qualifying.
It's been a little bit like a field altered, hasn't it? It's been left and right, and it's doing everything at speed, but John Canuli is driving the wheels off it this weekend. And there is Kirsten Tucker Canuli, Pro Stock racer and wife of John Canuli, backing him up there. This team's really been on a charge over the last couple of seasons, haven't they?
It's also had a bit of American experience racing in the USA. Now, it looks like Stephen Reid and Gary Phillips are going to miss this session, which means that there's a chance that he can go to the number 1 qualifier here. If he can go quicker than 4.72, he's in the right lane to do it.
Well, the conditions are there at the moment as well. Nice, cool, crisp air. The track conditions are good. They've still got the heat in the track from earlier on in the day, but this is going to be a good number, I think, if he can make it stick. Probably one of the biggest horsepower cars in the field.
Very low wheelie bar setup on the back of the Ambrosi 20 car. See if that strikes that wheelie bar on the head of the throttle. Oh! He hasn't had 1 clean pass yet this weekend, but he's got plenty of power. No improvement for Canuli. A 5.05.6 though is an improvement for Ambrosi. he cements himself in the number 6 spot.
Big step in the right direction there, but all eyes were on Canuli on the start line. Big wheel stand right off the line, and as soon as it hit the wheelie bar, it looked like it might have unloaded that rear end just a little bit. Looked like it started dropping cylinders as well, and well, from there on, it was pretty much all run and done. Yeah, you can see a couple of pedals, couple of stabs at the throttle. You see those butterflies open and close, and that was pretty much the run done for John Canuli.
Nice drive though for Ambrosi. He didn't even lift and did not see those butterflies on his funny car waver one little piece. Last pass for qualifying VPW Pro Series 1000. It's going to be our only lady racer in Top Alcohol, Debbie O'Rourke. And then we have Frankentini in the other lane.
Yeah, and that small block Chevy powered dragster. Top Alcohol car. This car, it's a car that's probably got the most history of just about any car in the field this weekend. It's probably been around since the mid-1990s, but as I touched on, running that small block Chevy combination, very unusual in Top Alcohol. Generally these days you see those big cube Hemis up over sort of 540 cubic inches.
Which is exactly what's under the hood on the funny car, if you can call it that. Now, she's already in the field comfortably with that 494, top half of the field. But it's not so attractive for Antini at the moment. 6:02 in the second qualifying session, so a fair bit of room for improvement for the dragster.
You can even see it just in the size of the header pipes, the zoomies there. They're almost like pea shooters compared to the funny car.
That was offered early for O'Rourke, but still runs a 4.99, just 500ths off her earlier time, and that's a big improvement for Antini, now into the 5s.
Yeah, 5.07 there, solid run for Frankie Antini out of the small cube dragster, and I think they'll be pretty happy with that. Gets him into the field. It does mean that they have to take on Steve Reed in the first round of racing, though, which is not going to make life very easy.
The blower belt came out the back for Debbie O'Rourke, and that's why that car shut down early. Gary Phillips in number 1 qualified despite missing out on that last session, and he is once again the man to beat in ANDRA Top Alcohol, and Stephen Reed will slot himself into the number 2 spot.
This Crow Camps pit report here after qualifying for Top Alcohol, the VPW Pro Series 1000. It's Gary Phillips back in number 1 and well and truly under the 1,000 feet record.
Well, only the track record, not national record. We're going to be trying to get national, but it'll be hard. You know, that's the equivalent of a low 540 to run 460 on 1,000 foot.
Each time we come back to Adelaide, it gets better and better. The rejuvenation since 2012, it's getting more laps. It just gets better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a whole different ball game too, with being all asphalt and 1,000 foot. You know, everything you learn anywhere else goes out the door, and you just have to go out there and tiptoe through the tulips and see what happens, you know.
Look at that, 1,000 foot of tarmac. It's quite unusual that we get to see it. We heard Gary Phillips reference that, and it does make tune-ups difficult, but right now it's all about getting down that quarter mile as fast as you can. To give us a bit of an update as to how they're forming for the first round of eliminations, here's Matt Nolte.
You know, guys, I've got this feeling once again Adelaide's going to turn on some magic here as Top Alcohol gets set for their round of eliminations. Gary Phillips annihilated the 1,000 feet record here at Adelaide International Raceway. It's going to be Rob Ambrosi in the first round of competition. And just some news to update you also from inside the paddock is that Frank Antini will not start in today's competition due to damage to his engine in qualifying last night.
What that means, Matt, is that Gary Phillips will no longer have a solo through. He'll actually have to take on Rob Ambrosi, who has been pretty much on the hammer so far this weekend.
Yeah, super consistent, and it does also shuffle the field as far as our other first round matchups. Steve Reed takes on Gary Bush and John Canuli and Debbie O'Rourke.
It also means the winner of this race will get the solo in the semi. Nice big skid for Ambrosi. And here is the champ. Although not carrying the number 1 this year, I think we'll never really be able to strip him of the title of being a Top Alcohol champion through and through. Gary Phillips, and he is oh so hungry to win back that number 1 plate. The champion is not electing to run this season. Stephen Ham doing a big stint of racing in America.
Yeah, he's actually just about to start his US campaign. Testing getting underway this week, I believe. So Good luck to Steve Ham over there representing Australia. But that being said, Gary Phillips, I haven't seen him looking this hungry for a championship in a long, long time. I mean, when you've got 16 national titles in this class under your belt already, it must be hard to maintain that motivation, but Gary Phillips seems to do it year after year after year, and this year he's really hungry.
Who will take the walk through to the final in Adelaide? Well, Ambrosey pulled a light, he needed to, but he got run down. 473 as well. Gary Phillips is backing up the numbers from qualifying.
Wow, Rob Ambrosey, there was nothing at all wrong with this run. He was pretty much side by side with Phillips until half track, but then it was just the big horsepower of that Lucas Oil funny car that brought it home at the top end of the racetrack. And a 473, wow, that is a huge run from Gary Phillips. And he gets the bye in the semi, and in the final round, well, we don't know who he's going to take on yet, but we know that it's going to be one of these guys in the semis.
How about that? I think Ambrosey can put that thing back in the trailer with his head held firmly high right now.
Well, he's certainly had a solid start to his championship campaign. Of course, we saw him over in Perth and now in Adelaide. So Rob Ambrosey doing good things on his return year to the ANDRA Championship Drag Racing Series. But the next pair up, it is Steve Reid, our number 2 qualifier and always strong performer in top alcohol, and he's taking on Adelaide's own Gary Bush.
That is a really cool shot. Looking down on 3,500 horsepower. Get the feeling Gary Bush is going to have the raw end of the deal here. He's in that left-hand lane. It's not impossible to get down that lane. We've seen some quick 480s in that lane this weekend. But the right-hand lane is slightly favourable.
Well, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen in the heat of the day. That's what it comes down to. When the track is a little bit hot, a little bit greasy, especially an asphalt surface, the high horsepower cars do have a tendency to trip over themselves. That's where the door opens for guys like Gary Bush.
Oh, started getting antsy as the boys look for the beams.
Very slight hole shot to Gary Bush, but in the end it's all for naught. Steve Reid motors on through to the semi-finals with a 476. He says to Gary Phillips, okay, you can run 70, so can we. 476, boom.
That car just wandered a little bit over to the right-hand side. Punching the gears, reaching for the parachutes, getting on the brake as we ride on board with Stephen Reid. Fast Queenslander is going on to the semi-finals. Who will he race?
He had to do a fair bit of driving there in that first round pass as well. Had to really try and reef the thing across to the centre of the lane.
Now a pair of Queenslanders. It's going to be Debbie O'Rourke. She's right of frame right now. And then the doo-doo funny car, which we've yet to see get down the racetrack cleanly in the 3 qualifiers. Definitely got down a fair amount of fanfare about it. But if this thing goes straight, I firmly believe that it can rival the ETs that we've seen from Gary Phillips so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 484, it's a solid pass, but when you consider that he didn't get down without lifting off the throttle at least once on his qualifying runs, that says that there's a lot left in these cars, in this car in particular. Debbie O'Rourke, 494. Okay, we know she's not one of the biggest horsepower cars in the field, but she's certainly there to snap up the scraps if something happens to John Canuli.
Look how tight that workspace is. Multi-point harness holding Debbie into essentially what is just a blown altered with a body on it.
You can't be claustrophobic in one of these things.
Canuli's in pre-stage, waiting on O'Rourke. 7 inches further, we'll find the full stage beams, and we will drop the green light. Unbelievable reaction time from O'Rourke, but that is a nice pass from Canuli. 470. Whoa. We said this thing has the numbers hidden away inside it if you can just get a clean pass down, and that was the number right there.
Now, if you convert that out to a quarter-mile run, that's looking at around about a 548, 547, somewhere around there. That's a huge run from John Canuli. And Debbie O'Rourke, she tried hard. There was a couple of sparkles out of the header pipes, but just John Canuli had way too much for her on this run.
So there you go. It's going to be Reid versus Canuli in the semi-finals. The other side of the tree will see Gary Phillips and the Lucas Oil Funny Car take a walk on through to the final. Either way, it's going to be an all-Queensland final here in Adelaide for the Pro Series 1000 on your Snap-on race ladder.
Crocam's Pit Report here at Adelaide International Raceway. I promised you it would be big, and it delivered. John Cannulli, you are smashing the ET in speed here this weekend.
Yeah, it took us a couple of goes to get it right, but on that first round we got it right. I went 470 at 235, so I think we got it back to where we were last race.
It's an amazing track. It's been very good to you over the past. It just gets better every time we come home, doesn't it?
It sure does. It's a tricky track compared to the other tracks we normally race in over the season. But yeah, we get it right, and we love being in Adelaide, and Reno puts a good event on.
So as the teams go to work in the pits getting these cars prepared for the semi-finals, we're going to take a short break, and on the other side here in Adelaide, ANDRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. Don't go anywhere. Pro Stock Motorcycle is firing on all 4 cylinders, ready for another run at the quarter mile in 2015. And this weekend marks the beginning of the battle. With last year's champ Luke Crowley sitting this one out, his nemesis Morris Allen and the rest of the field are ready to pounce.
We duked it out with Luke Crowley all year, and you know, unfortunately for us, we were in a great position to strike after the Nationals, taking the win there. It was you know, a massive win for us at that event. 2014 was just great to go head-to-head with Luke and Scott stepping up. It was just some really good runs that depict what the category is all about and how passionate everybody is right to the end of that championship.
2014 was great. Everything seemed to come together. We really killed the pick. The Dale and Bolt Supply Suzuki just started coming together. Everything, you know, as soon as we got that support from them, we suddenly found some reliability. Top qualifier at the Nationals. We went, first time I'd gone round 1 at the Winters. We ended up running the quickest time for any pro bike for the year, which is a bit of a surprise to us and to everyone else, I reckon, a 7.20. So yeah, we've got high hopes for the weekend. Hopefully we'll flog them all.
This season coming, we've actually got the engine fully refreshed now. It's actually 1585 cc's, so you know, it should give us a lot more mile an hour in the top end and hopefully be really competitive.
This is a 1640cc Monster Star Racing engine from America, and we run a 4-valve billet aluminium head. We're the only ones in Australia that run this engine at the moment. The other boys run a 2-valve head, and so there's less load on this head, which we're really happy with, and we're happy with the progress we've made on it.
They're no lightweights by any stretch of the imagination. They rev to 14,000 RPM. They're the highest revving, you know, motorcycle engines on the planet. So within a second, we're already doing 100 kilometres an hour, and we're in second gear.
But to get on one of these things with basically a car tyre on the back and heaps of horsepower, as you know, V8 supercar sort of horsepower coming out of the engines when they're going well. You can hit around that 300k an hour mark, it's excellent.
It's the first time that we've run in pro bike. We hadn't run the bike at that weight before. We were a bit heavier, so we took 30 kilos out to come in the class. I lost some weight, we took some out of the bike, and we were happy with the way it went, and so we're here to come for 2015.
Well, this is exciting. Time to turn our attention now to the first round of a brand new championship in ANDRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. We've got 5 bikes here ready to take to the quarter mile. So these guys racing over the full quarter mile here at Adelaide International Raceway. And we have the full allotment of stars from last year, including Morris Allen. Although I suppose fair to say no Luke Crowley, which is a bit of a disappointment. Looking forward to seeing the Suzuki rider back in the next coming few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Little bit disappointing, but what can you do? Adelaide is a bit of a tow, but Matt Nolte's down in the pits with Scott White.
Well, it's the beginning of a brand new season in ANDRA Pro Stock Motorcycle this year, and it starts at a place that's been very favourable to Scott White alongside me here, Adelaide International Raceway. Scotty, big time qualifier last year, some good ET, hoping to see that translate this weekend.
Absolutely, Matt. We love this place. It's been good to us. The bike just likes it here. No, it's always good to get that first one off the bat at the start of the season. You know, it's like not like road racing where you get to practice, you swing your leg over and it's full throttle from the word go. So it's honey, I'm home, you know. It's straight into it. So it's good to get that first one out. We sort of tender-foot it a little bit with that first one just to check the track. And no, it's just a matter of coming back to the Darwin Bolt Supplies race van and getting in there and having a look at the data and sort of working out what's going on. These data loggers give us so much feedback. Everything, there's about 15 sensors giving us all sorts of inputs, and we just got to read that data properly and make educated decisions, a little tweak here, a little tweak there. We're in a good position. We're not changing a lot of stuff. We've got a good baseline here, 720 last year. We know what works. We're just going to try and duplicate that.
Morris Allen would have to be the form guy at the moment. Luke Crowley not here this weekend. What's it going to take to beat him?
Just exactly what we're doing. You know, I reckon we're the form guys at the moment. We're just running really well. We're running the bike running consistently like clockwork. We've obviously got more ponies in it at the moment than Morris. We're making more horsepower. It's just a matter of working out, getting it down to the track. I mean, he's got a bigger budget than us, but we reckon we're right onto it at the moment. So, you know, to beat him, I think we just keep doing exactly what we're doing.
Set for a big year, Scott White. It's time to check out some of the qualifying highlights of what's been a busy 2 sessions so far. We do have one more session left in qualifying to jumble the 5 bikes up before we get into race day. But like I was saying, 2 sessions so far, and the first 2 bikes on the track with a Lucas Oil motorcycle rider of Lachlan Island, a former national champion, I should say, and alongside him, Scott White from the Northern Territory.
Yeah, Scott White has swapped the hat for the helmet and is making it count this weekend. 7:39, straight to the top of the timesheets. Lockie Island, not too many troubles over there, but a 7:78 over the quarter-mile course.
WA covered as well with Brian Lemont, Wise Guy Racing Team, and problems for Glenn Worcester. He was searching towards the end of that pass. Lemont, despite spinning the tyre through first and second gear, runs a 7:49.
Momo Allen now. Solid launch for him. Sounded like the bike was really on the limiter for a long time, laying over hard at the finish line. Good thing he was on a solo pass. 7:45, crosses the centre line in the braking area, but that's okay because it is after the finish line. The run still counts.
Yeah, I think the wind got a hold of him as he went through the finish line that time. Just lifted him up and pushed him over towards the right-hand side. So at the moment it currently stands, Scott White is our number 1 qualifier, but there is plenty still to change as we had this session with our number 1 and number 2 qualifiers on the track together.
And Morris Allen, a bullet. Now the bike doing the opposite thing this time around, laying over to the left-hand side of the rider, but he still goes to the number 1 spot with a 7:38. Bumps down Scott White by just 1/100th of a second.
Love the sound of these Suzukis. And through the quarter mile goes Ryan Lemont with a 7:39. Fantastic pass from him. And a 7:64 out of Lockie Island.
Glenn Worcester trying to go through the burnout procedure here, but there's the shake of the head. Obviously a few problems there for him. Maybe trying to get a gear.
There's shifting issues, it looks like. So Worcester's 8:36 from the first qualifying session. We'll see him stuck down there in the 5th position. And Morris Allen, your new number 1 qualifier, with a session to go. Under lights at Adelaide International Raceway. Fantastic seeing drag racing healthy in this part of the world. And there is our number 2 qualifier. Just 100th of a second covering our top 3 at the moment. Lockie Island love to bump himself up at the moment. He hasn't really had a pass to write home about, just a 7:64. Oh, spinning the rear tyre. I think they stepped it up knowing they had the right-hand lane and good conditions. Didn't stick. And a 7:62 is the smallest of improvements really for Lockie Island, and Scott White will hang on to the number 2 qualifying spot. Wow.
Wow, that was just violent. It happened so fast that Scott White didn't even have a chance to roll off the throttle there. Incredible scenes there. But Ryan Lemont is up next on that really nicely presented bike out of Western Australia. Interesting to note the Star Racing on the rear fairing of that bike. Now, Star Racing, if you're not aware, that's George Bryce over in the United States of America, and he is considered widely to be one of the gurus of pro stock motorcycle racing. So he's got some good help on board this weekend, and Ryan Lemont is making a count.
Didn't find top gear.
Couldn't find top gear. 7:46 does not improve on that previous 7:39, but still a solid pass, and it gives him a lot of encouragement for eliminations tomorrow.
In that left-hand lane as well. Just there, he rolled off it early because he couldn't find top gear. And that'll be something to fix for tomorrow. He just about could have stolen the number 1 spot then, which would have been very impressive out of the left-hand lane. Look at that new Bell helmet for Morris Allen in 2015. New set of leathers as well for Momo. Always looks the part on the Milwaukee Suzuki.
Fantastically presented motorcycle this, and the whole team for that matter.
He's already the number 1 man. Can he improve on his 738? It'll be very difficult in that lane if you want to try and step up the tune-up.
Very methodical in his preparation for the run. You can see he goes through the same process each and every time. A little bit untidy on the front half of the racetrack, but again laying over hard at the finish line. 7:45 and a big flash of sparks.
That's from the brakes.
From the front brakes, yeah, that's really cool to see. But Morris Allen is your number 1 man heading into race day.
So many things to talk about out of qualifying. It's just unusual the whole way through. Congratulations, Momo.
The Crow Cam's pit report here after qualifying for the VPW Pro Series 1000. Morris Allen suiting up for round number 1 here today. Number 1 qualifying. You claimed a bit confusing that setup for last night.
Yeah, it was, Matt. There was a few things going on, you know, with lane choices, the way the track conditions were. You know, made a bit of an error myself. You know, so look, we just weren't comfortable with yesterday, unfortunately, so we're hoping to make amends today. We want to go rounds today. We want to start the championship off, you know, with some good points, and it's round 1, and that's all you can focus on is round 1, and, you know, that's what we're here to do and see how we go and have a good crack. The track's great. The air's really good. There's a bit of cloud cover today, so, you know, we've got some great data, so we're hoping that, you know, this is all going to pay off today.
He's taking on Lockie Island in the first round. Some update for you guys upstairs too. We've lost Glenn Worcester overnight in qualifying. We're down to 4 bikes in Pro Stock Motorcycle for the first round here at Adelaide.
Okay, time to get into racing in ANDRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. As we just heard in our Crowcam's pit report, we're unfortunately down to 4 bikes as Glenn Worcester from Warrnambool has withdrawn from the event, but we have been left with 4 extremely quick Suzuki Pro Stock motorcycles, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this one will pan out the first round of the 2015 championship.
And not only quick motorcycles, but very, very closely grouped together as well. Top 3 qualifiers only separated by 0.02 of a second. So this promises to be a fantastic first round of racing. And, well, the first pair that we've got is Ryan Learmont, racing for the Moving Man and Star Racing, and he's taking on Scott White from the Northern Territory.
The Moving Man is actually Gordon Crawford, who is a top bike racer, so we'll be sympathetic to trying to help the fellow motorcycle racer go around Australia. He's up against Scott White, the man that eliminated him in his first ever ANDRA drag racing professional race at this track. So he would love some vengeance. It'll be difficult out in that left-hand lane, but he's got his nose in front, and he will get that win. Oh, bodywork's off for Scott White, and he's leaning out on the left-hand side. He's brought that bike under control. Massive moment across the finish line. The team were getting ready to celebrate for Ryan Learmont, and then I think they saw the dramas that Scott was having.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of concern for Scott White. You can just see in the corner of your screen there, the front fairing comes off, and that's a really scary situation right there because the bike's actually laid over. It's on the frame rails. When that fairing came off, it grabbed a whole lot of air, really tilted the bike and threw Scott's balance off. He did a great job just to hang on to that.
That was a fantastic save. His left toes took a bit of a ride across the tarmac, so I hope he's okay. Bit more drama for Pro Bike than we were expecting, but now we go through to our number 1 qualifier.
Yes, Morris Allen taking on former national champion Lockie Island. So battle of 2 former champions here. Promises to be a good one. Lockie Island, he's been out in the wilderness a little bit, but it seems like he's starting to get his groove back with this bike, the Lucas Oil's Suzuki. Qualified 4th with the 764. But he's going to need to find a little bit if he wants to have anything for Morris Allen here.
Morris has also had a bit of help from Michael Marriott, Pro Stock Tuner, helping out more so with just data gathering.
Oh, double 08 from Lockie Island.
He deserves the win. But Allen will take it away from him. with a ridiculously quick time. 7.2 flat. He needed that one. He only just won the drag race, courtesy of that monster hole shot from Ireland.
Wow, Lockie Island earned every inch of that one, and by rights he should have won it, but Morris Allen throws out a 7.20 in the first round of racing, and that sends an ominous shot across the rest of the pro bike field.
The Crocans Pit Report here at Adelaide International Raceway for Pro Stock Motorcycle. The West Aussie Ryan Learmonth has made it through to the finals here this evening.
Yeah, we have, Matt. We're really excited. You know, it's our first ever finals and our first ever win last pass, so we're really happy to be here.
All that hard work, the new engine is starting to pay off. How did you find the track today?
Yeah, track's still really tricky. It's a bit slippery for us. You know, we're trying to tune it down sort of to get stop the wheel spin, but you know, it's the same for the other guy in the other lane, so we just got to do the best we can.
Doesn't matter what happens now. This is a fairy tale day.
Yeah, pretty much. We're all smiles all the way around, so it doesn't matter if we win or lose, but we want to win. You know, that's what we're here for, and it's the start of the championship, so you know, we want to get some good points to go to Sydney with.
It's a hairy ride in that first time with Scott White's incident, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did see a lot of dust and things flying in the air, and you know, and just the good thing is Scott's all right. That's the main thing. You know, bikes can be fixed, but as long as he's all right, that's okay.
We wish Ryan Learmonth all the best for his final here. Just an update on Scott White. That bike has got a fair bit of damage to the rear. The cowling over the back wheel has shredded away, and they cost about $6,000 to repair. Scotty may not repair now until the Winter Nationals, but a tough break for the Northern Territorian guy. But this guy here, fantastic job to see him in the finals for Pro Stock Motorcycle.
Also featuring on the bill here, exhibition racing between Lee Bektash and Emilio Spinozzi in ANDRA Pro Stock. It was originally scheduled to be the first round of their championship, but unfortunately didn't go ahead. It'll be a 2-round championship now for Pro Stock, which will conclude at the Winter Nationals. But a great chance for the Adelaide fans to see the fastest naturally aspirated cars in the country, and these two are the fastest.
Yeah, two are probably the highest quality cars that you will find in this country, especially in terms of horsepower. And Lee Bektash was throwing it out there. Remember, this car is running the 680s, the only car to do it in Australia. And Jerry Parente, old school racer from the mid-1990s, he's come back with a brand spanking new Camaro out of the US. And I tell you what, the thing looks the goods. Hopefully it runs just as well.
That thing looks absolutely brilliant. So just exhibition passes between these two this weekend. They were already pretty much due to be there racing at the event, so they thought they'd put on a show anyway for the fans.
And let's be honest, they're using it as a little bit of a test bed for the remainder of the season. With only 2 rounds of the championship, you don't get any chances to sneeze, and so they're taking every track opportunity that they can.
So we still have the finals not too far away here in Adelaide. It's the VPW Pro Series 1000. Don't go anywhere. Semi-finals for ANDRA Top Alcohol, round 2 here at Adelaide International Raceway, not too far away. The boys have been out in the staging lanes getting ready, and it's always a nice time when you see drivers hanging with wives, putting on Hans devices, getting gloves on and getting themselves strapped into 3,500 horsepower fiberglass cars ready to go racing.
Well, the semi-finals are Gary Phillips on a solo pass, which is good for him. He'll get that opportunity to test the track. And Steve Reid will take on John Canuli in what promises to be one of the biggest matchups of the day so far. That's your snap-on race ladder, and here is the first of your semi-finals.
Debbie Reid watching on in the background. Came oh so close to winning the championship once upon a time, 4 or 5 years ago. No second guesses as to who actually won that championship. Doing a burnout right now. That was a heartbreaker though.
It was. It came down to the last run of the year virtually. Not dissimilar to last season, we have to say, when Steve Ham walked away with the championship. Gary Phillips, unfortunately for him, was on the other end of that losing equation there, but he is hungry for this championship. He's already got one round win on the board as far as the championship rounds go. He won at the first round of the championship over in Perth. He's looking to go back-to-back this weekend in Adelaide.
I think Stephen Ham's 000 light to win the championship in the semi-finals at the Nationals is still, to this day, the most incredible thing I've seen at a drag strip.
Probably the drive job of a lifetime, right there.
Or 1/1000th away from this guy winning another championship. Whichever way you look at it, but we do have the Lucas Oil funny car ready to make a pass here and a good chance to get some data for the final. It's looking very strong, but the next two cars up in the other semi-final have just as much chance at winning the Silver Christmas Tree today. Love that shot from behind. Looks like a slingshot ready to throw down the racetrack, and a 474 for Gary Phillips. Will take some beating for lane choice, it might be said.
Well, it's not the quickest that we've seen today. That honour belongs to John Canuli with that 470 from the first round of racing, but still 474. He's quick and he's consistent, and that is a killer combination.
It's this matchup, though, that I'm very much licking my lips with, because these guys have been running very fast 470s all weekend. Good chance to remind you that we're talking about 470s over the 1,000-foot markers, which is exactly pretty much 300 metres down the racetrack, the three-quarter mark.
Yeah, this promises to be a great matchup. Two of the, I guess you could say, most consistent performers over the last couple of years in top alcohol. Steve Reid, he's really found some form over the last two seasons. Was right up there in the championship last year. And John Canuli, we know he's got a quick car, but he's not always the most consistent. It goes out there, sometimes it shakes, sometimes it goes left, right, up, down, does everything but what you want it to do. But when it does run quick, man, it runs quick.
Is this the shutdown signal we're seeing here for Stephen Reid? It's off, it's done. It looked like maybe they were playing with a fuel fitting at the front of that engine. It's hard to see.
Might have even been the fuel shut-off, hard to say, but there's a big puddle of fuel underneath that car, which obviously the car is unsafe to run. So John Canuli getting the bye run into the final round.
Window, the front windscreen popping under the pressure, and a 472 steals lane choice by 200ths. He'll have the chance to shove Gary Phillips over in that left-hand lane.
Oh, we got a final on our hands right now. 472 backs up that 470 from earlier in the day. These guys are on it.
So that means it'll be Phillips versus Canuli on your snap-on race later. They both got through on a solo pass, but that means that this final is going to be oh so exciting, and I cannot wait to see who's going to take the win here in Adelaide.
It's the Crocans Pit Report here, and the two quickest guys of top alcohol this weekend get set to square off. And Gary Phillips, you can have your work cut out against John Canuli, but you two have been trading times all weekend.
Oh yeah, it's good. I mean, you know, they've stepped their act up. You know, we just got to step ours up a bit. We were trying for lane choice in the final and missed out by what, a couple of hundredths or something. So, hey, close but no cigar. But we'll be right. We'll be right.
Just in the past few moments since that last run, the cloud cover's come over and the wind's changed direction and got much cooler. How do you attack it now?
Oh, well, that's what my car's been missing all weekend. We sort of really sus about changing the transmission ratio because that's what it needs, but it's, haven't been really going to do it. So, the weather might dictate that to us, and we'll see what happens. But for Lucas Oil Products, hey, we'll be trying. I can guarantee you that.
Pair of burnouts for the Pro Stock Motorcycle Final. And how about this? Ryan Limon in his first ever final in ANDRA Group 1 drag racing, and this would be an amazing achievement if he can win himself a silver Christmas tree against a former champion in Morris Allen.
These guys were close in qualifying, but in the first round of racing, Morris Allen ran that 7.200. Now, both blokes are ready to go in here. They're both in pre-stage. I think we might have a burn down on our hands here, Chad.
Here we go. Okay, there's no rules as to who has to go in first.
Now, Ryan Lemont did say before this run, he said, there is no way I am staging first.
The starter says, let's do it. And neither are budging. We've got ourselves a good old-fashioned burn down.
This is what it's about, building the tension on the start line. Who's going to blink first?
Look at the deep breath that Morris is taking. That's a very relaxed style right there for Ryan. A couple of phantom revs. Once again, the starter says, let's get in there. This is great stuff. And Morris is looking for the beams. There you go. And they both are fairly slow at the tree as a result. The race is on, but it's all Morris Allen. Silver Christmas tree to Momo, and he starts off his 2015 campaign in emphatic style, but it was all about the weight at the tree.
Well, we got the stopwatch out on that burn down. That was over 40 seconds on the start line. These things would have been just on the verge of running out of fuel. You can see the starter pointing him in, saying, come on, boys, time to go. I think someone should have just given him a deck chair and told him to sit down.
It was a pretty good drag race too after that, by the way. I'm sure Ashton, Brandon, Harrison, his three sons, will be extremely proud of Dad's efforts this weekend, and also how patient he was in holding off at the start. That's what it looks like when you go riding at nearly 300 k's an hour. Well done to Ryan Lemont, but congratulations, Momo.
Pro Stock Motorcycle debuts this weekend in Adelaide, and here is the hardware. Morris Allen, it was a staging duel at the start line there, but 7:28, 181 will do.
Yeah, it will, Matt. We just figured that for the final, you know, we didn't know what shape the track was going to be in, so let's just keep everything, get down the track, give Ryan a good race, put a show on for the crowd. Hell, we even had a Pro Stock bike burn down. I mean, it was exciting, you know. This one's obviously for, you know, Stewie, my dad, Steve. You know, this season was all about starting to get this bike to boogie. We did that on the run just before. You know, we're really moving in the right direction. My little boys at home are going to be wrapped, Ashton, Brandon and Harrison, but they're not too sure about the silver ones. But, you know, they can't understand why they're not gold. But I still tell them that Daddy won. So, you know, it was an awesome weekend. I want to congratulate Reno. You know, thank ANDRA. It's an awesome event. We love coming over here, and we're just happy to come away with a bag of points.
A bag of points. How about the full pool? 118, that's perfect. That means that he got low ET, top qualifier, as well as top mile per hour as well. So congratulations to Morris Allen, and hopefully Ryan Lemont will be able to talk to the moving man and have a crack at getting over to the East Coast. The low ET's rusty. Yeah, it's a bit one-sided.
Yeah, Momo. That's the story right there. 1, 2 and 3, all Morris Allen. Scott White gave it a shake in fourth, but man, it's going to take some catching for Momo.
Nothing like watching a funny car body go down. You know all hell's about to break loose. And that man's got his race face on, those determined, steely eyes of John Cannulli. Look at him darting around. And that's only on his way to the burnout. This is the final.
Now this is a really interesting matchup. We've got the number 1 and 3 qualifiers on track, but the number 3 qualifier has got low ET of the weekend and has lane choice coming into this final round. It's a bit of an unusual situation.
Also top mile per hour as well with that big 235 mile per hour run. And back they come. So lane choice going the way of the Doodoo Funny Car, and as a result, no surprises there, takes that right-hand lane. I get the feeling the racers are almost beating this up inside their own heads. That left-hand lane is holding some pretty quick ET still.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I think there's not a lot between them at the moment, but you know what racers are like. They can be superstitious animals sometimes, and when you get that idea in your head that the one lane's better than the other, well, sometimes you just stick with it for the rest of your career, or sometimes even just for the rest of the weekend. But in this case, Gary Phillips is over there in the supposedly less favoured left lane. Whether it makes a difference or not, well, Gary's made a few laps up and down this racetrack. I think he knows exactly what he needs to do to get it down.
You mentioned superstition. Tell me right now, can you see any green on that car?
Not one iota. Not one shamrock anywhere.
Here we go, it's the final of alcohol. Canuli right on board with him as the revs come up against Gary Phillips. Oh, and Canuli goes nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And Phillips takes another step forward to a 17th title with a 477.
That's back-to-back as far as championship round wins for Gary Phillips. Strange one for John Canuli. The car just went silent at the hit of the throttle. Not sure if it was a blower belt that came off or... Not sure what happened there, but very, very unusual to not move that far. Even John doesn't know what's going on.
Well, you could tell with his body language before the run, he was fully expecting to make a big pass. That was definitely not a planned shutdown whatsoever, but at the end of the day, it's another full bank of points for the Lucas Oil Products team, and that is emphatic.
Gary Phillips, another Christmas tree, 1,000-foot weekend. You've smashed everything there is to smash this weekend. Well done.
Yeah, I don't think we got top speed. I don't think we got low ET. I think John got that, but we were trying, mate. We had the left lane, and we're going up there and going, well, let's see what we can do. I don't know what happened to him, but that thing just soared through the clutch again. We were really gun shy on that, like I spoke to you before about changing it, that trans and stuff. And anyhow, for Lucas Oil Products, Speed Flow, Leander's clutches, JPM headers, just all the super crew. Lee Keating's birthday this weekend, my crew guy for 100 years, and absolutely fantastic. For Reno, for everyone that put on this deal here, he tries, and we're happy. This is really good for the points, and we're looking forward to making the phone call tonight.
So Gary Phillips' lead now looks pretty handsome. 158 points for John Canuli means that he's got some work to do when the series heads back over to the East Coast. And we'll see if Debbie O'Rourke and Stephen Reid and the rest of the gang can try and close up that margin, but it's looking very handy right now. And the next time we'll see these guys, Rusty, is across the Easter weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to it. The Sandoz Super 3 Extreme Drag Race. It's always a huge event up there at Willowbank. Really looking forward to that one.
We'll also have a big field of top fuel cars, so mark that one down, Easter Saturday. Thank you very much to Rusty for his comments throughout this coverage. It's been Top Alcohol and Pro Stock Motorcycle, and congratulations to those that are walking away with the silver ANDRA Christmas trees. We'll see you at the next round. The starter says let's do it, and neither are budging. We've got ourselves a good old-fashioned burn down. Once again, the starter says let's get in there. This is great stuff. And they both are fairly slow at the tree as a result. The race is on, but it's all Morris Allen. Silver Christmas tree. We'll stick around because after the break we're going to Wakefield Raceway in New South Wales. It's the Valvoline Wakefield 300 in the running of the B-Main.